All right, I think we're good to go now.
Wonderful. Hello, all. Hello, everyone. Hello, Kaylin.
Hey, Alex.
So nice to see people chatting ahead of time. That's awesome. We're just welcome to our webinar, to Shogun's webinar. We're just going to take a minute or two and give some time for everybody to finish rolling in. And, I wanted to put a hello to all the people in Australia, the UK, and different time zones that will be watching a recording of this. Thank you for wanting to attend and for watching the recording.
Yeah, a lot of interest in this. A lot of people saying, I'm sorry I can't make it. Will there be a recording? And to all those watching, each time we do one of these webinars, there will be a recording immediately afterwards at the same link. So what you're watching right now, there'll be a recording immediately afterwards.
Nice.
It's cool to see a little community chat going in on the chat there.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I use Shogun too. We should talk about it.
I use Shogun too.
What a coincidence. We should be best friends.
Nice. Okay, cool. So I guess this has now been a couple of minutes, right? So I think we've okay, so I will start off by starting to share one of my tabs.
Yeah, we're just getting the screen shared up right now.
Cool. I'm going to start. I think now's a good time. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our third webinar. Today, we're presenting and talking about designing for mobile. What an exciting thing, because everybody's seeing increases in mobile usage across the board. And so this is increasingly more important. So today, our hosts are Kaylin Christ. He's a team lead for the support team. And myself, Alex Wikitsa, I'm a customer success manager. For our webinar today, I will be giving you a kind of high-level overview of the different tools that we have provided so that you can build and design a responsive page that looks great across all different device types. So I'm going to give you the high-level overview, and then Kaylin is going to go into a more technical and in-depth how-to demonstration of using these different tools. And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A period. And we've heard your feedback that sometimes people have to go a little early. Sometimes people want to stay a little late. So what we're going to do is, if anybody needs to leave right at the half-hour mark, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we will continue to record an extended Q&A in case there's more questions that we can address. So we'll spend another 10, 15 minutes and try and answer any additional questions that come up. So I'll start off now by talking about the different responsive tools that we have available in our page builder. So the first thing to note is that we have responsive templates. All of the templates that we've built, you'll notice that when you go to add a template, they're not broken down based on device type. They're actually organized based on page type. So I'll go into that in a little bit in small depth. Then, whoops, that's a bit ahead. Then I want to talk to everybody about the device views functionality that we have and the different device editing tools that we have as well. So we give you the tools to make specific changes based on specific device types. And then we also let you fine tune how your pages look and how your content looks by using margins, using padding. That's all found in the styles tab of an element. And then in the controls tab, we also have additional functionality for you to be able to fine tune it. So I'm going to just stop screen sharing that for a quick moment. And I'm about to screen share my test environment. So I appreciate everybody's patience while we do this changeover. Right, so I'll go ahead and create a new page. I'll select a standard page. And then with the template, again, like I mentioned, it's not organized based on device type. It's organized based on page type. And so I'll start off with a favorite of mine, which is the beauty. This is one of our newer ones. So I'm going to choose that template. Name it, and we'll go ahead and select landing page here. And we'll take a look and see that this looks phenomenal across all different device types. And I'll show you how to check that out. And this is how you're able to even check out your own work when you're building it. So at the top of the editor, at the very top of the editor, we have our own header. And in that header, you'll notice these different icons denoting screen sizes. And so when you hover on it, you see that this one shows widescreen view, desktop view, tablet view, and mobile view. When we click on it, it shows us how our content, how our work, the page that we're working on, looks on that kind of device. And so you can see here the template that I chose automatically scales down and it looks great. So if I had a cell phone in my hand and I was looking at this and I was using this template, I'm confident that my work would look fantastic and my user would have a great experience with it. So that's how our templates scale up and down across these different device types. And if you ever hit widescreen and you're wondering where did all my tools go, just go ahead and click the little double arrows here and boom, they pop back. So effectively that's the desktop view. Cool. So then that's the template view. Now keep in mind, or pardon me, that's how the templates are responsive. But keep in mind that when you click on these different view types, it doesn't necessarily mean that when you make a change, it's specific only to that device. Instead, what we offer you is the ability to click on an element, and then you'll see these icons on the right-hand side in the controls and in the styles. Every style attribute, by the way, has this icon, which allows you to select different device types to make edits specifically for that device. So every single style attribute, such as dimensions, text alignment, margins, padding, all these different style attributes, we have that option. In controls, it's not available for 100% of the different control options, but for the majority of them, there are. So just be careful when you click on it to pay attention that you're able to edit the thing that you want to be able to edit. So when we click on this, right, we have our text, our heading element selected. I click on the device icon. Now I can choose which device I want to make a specific edit for. So if I go to our mobile, now I can make a specific text change, font size change for the mobile device. And it's now not represented on the desktop view. It's only represented on the mobile. And so that's how you're able to do that. We also give you different tooling options in controlling your text size. So you could use pixels, or you could use the EM, which is a responsive font type. So it changes and it's relative to other text on there. Okay, so now that's how you're able to do that for every element, right? So we click on the button and we notice that we have these icons and we can make different changes for the icons based on what we're wanting to do. Which brings me to our styles thing here. So our styles tab, in addition to these icons, we have other tools available as well. If we scroll all the way down to the very bottom of styles, for absolutely every element, we are able to change the visibility of that element. And so we can decide if we want the element to be visible on specific device sizes. Say this picture, right? Fantastic picture. I really like it, but I don't want it on my mobile phones for some reason. So now I can go ahead and click on that, go to styles and remove it. And it's no longer visible on mobile phone alone, but it's available on tablets. It's available on where I lost the picture. There it is. It's available on desktops, right? So that's the visibility option. And so we also have the ability to control the padding and the margins, which is a major factor in making your content look great across all different device types. And so with padding, keep in mind that it controls where the content lands within the element itself, and margins controls where the entire element that you're working with shows relative to the other content around it. And when you're controlling your margins and your padding, we give you different kinds of settings here rather than just pixels. You also have the EM. You have percentages, which is relative to the entire page. And then you have an auto feature as well. And the auto is fantastic when we're working with say sections, and we want a section to scale only up to a certain size. So for example, I'll click on this section and I'll say max width. I only want this section to be 1200 pixels large, maximum. And for my margins, I'm going to select auto left and right. And you'll notice that this little chain link is selected, which means it links my right and my left, and it links my top and my bottom. If I undo that, then I have individual control over each of the different attributes there. And so now this element, if I go ahead and change the color of it, just to kind of make it stand out, you'll see it's 1200 pixels large, and it will never get bigger than 1200 pixels large, no matter how big of a screen people use. And so that helps me control that. And I believe, oh, and the very last thing that I need to cover with everybody today is in the Styles tab as well. If you are more technically apt, you also have the ability to add your own CSS class to the content that you're working with. And so you can specify in your CSS how you want that element to respond to different device types. If you're not technical, don't worry, you don't have to use it. That's why we provide you all these other tools. And if you're unsure what size a mobile phone is, when you hover over the mobile, we tell you right here, anything up to 767 pixels wide, we consider a mobile phone. And then same thing for the tablet. It tells you between 768 and 991, and so on and so on. So now I will pass it along to Kaylin, who will continue. And thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, just unmuting myself there. Thanks, Alex, for that introduction. That's great. I'm just going to get my screen up here for you. Let's see here. Chrome tab. There it is. Perfect. And it looks like that's up on the screen. Can you see that, Alex? Okay.
Yes, it looks really good.
Okay, fantastic. Right on. Cool. Yeah, so we're just going to go over some of the tools that Alex just sort of showed off there to use in a more kind of practical way on a page. I've just got a page here that I've sort of built up as an example. And we're going to go over how it looks in the different device types and how we might change it up using some of those tools. So first thing I'm going to do here is when I have my site open is just kind of take a look at it in each device type. So this is something you'll probably want to do as you're building your site along, right? You want to make sure as you put in specific elements each time to go to these different device types just to see, hey, does that look good? Is that how I want it to look? And then you can sort of change that up as you go along. Probably more recommended than building up your whole site as I have here, and then sort of going into those different view types, because you might run into some things that you weren't expecting if you do that in each different device type, how they or element and how they interact with each other, right? So it's just for an example, but when you're building your own page, make sure that you're sort of doing those elements one by one in the different device types if that's important to you. Cool. So I'm just taking a look here how it looks. I actually think it looks pretty good in the different device types already. This looks a little bit awkward. Might want to make a change here, how it's kind of sized up. I don't like how this button's all the way across the page. There's a few things that I might want to change. Maybe these icons could be all the way across rather than kind of stacked up. This image isn't really kind of fitting in here right. So there's some things we can kind of make a change on, right? So let's just start with that. This image looks great in my widescreen view. Looks okay in tablet. And mobile, I can't even see the phone. It's kind of eliminating the whole purpose, right? So let's see what we can do to change that first. So if I go to this section, let's see. I got my background image. Right now I have it set up as custom for the background size. That maybe is something I want to change. So there's different background sizes for the images. I could have it to contain. I don't really like that. Have it to cover. That looks pretty good. Looks good here. Looks good here. Cool. That's just like one example of going between your device types and making sure that something is fitting correctly. We can go over to sort of like what Alex was talking about in our margins and padding. For example, for this button, I might want to have the button be a certain length of the page. So I could set the pixels of the margins from right to left. Maybe I could do 200 pixels left and right, maybe larger than that, maybe 500. Now the issue with this is it's 500 pixels right and 500 pixels left. So you'll see here in the mobile view, it's not even showing up. And that's because we're trying to set a margin of 500 pixels on both sides. And the mobile device view is only that large in itself. So we want to change that. We don't want to have it be 500 pixels right, 500 pixels left. Maybe we want to set a percentage of the page. So I can go back here and I can still try to get this sort of look, but instead of using pixels, I can use those percentages. So let's just remove that and switch this to percentage. And then let's say, maybe 30% of the page. It's about right, maybe 25. Cool. And that's 25% of the page left and right. So if I go to mobile view, we can see the same thing happens. 25% of the page is margined, 25% of the page is margined. So that's one of the greatest tools you can use in your margins to set it up so that it is unique to each device type. Now you don't need to do this. You could also use those pixels, and as Alex described, you could set that up with this device type selection. So I can click on that, and again, laptop right and set pixels. So maybe I want those 400. I can go over to mobile, switch this to the mobile view, scroll down. It's not affected here. There's no margins at all on the left and right. So we could change that. Right. So it's the same effect, but this way we're taking a few extra steps, right, to get some pixels on both, whereas opposed to where we could have just used percentages in the first place. So you can kind of get an idea of how that might be handy for some of your elements on your page. Cool. So that kind of covers how to set up like pixels and margins and whatnot. Let's go into like how some elements have responsive features already, right? So for example, I was talking about before these different social icons. I like the way that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on my widescreen and desktop views, but I don't really like how it's kind of stacking up here on mobile. Makes them a bit larger, which is nice, but maybe I don't want that look. So instead, I can, stacking on smaller screens, I can turn that off. So we have this option here for columns. This is one of our responsive element options where I can change how that looks. So cool, I can have them all 4 next to each other, or if I wanted to, I can sort of have them stack up. Excellent. Another thing that Alex went over was, of course, the changing of how you can see different elements in different devices as well. So, for example, if there was something I didn't want to show in your mobile view instead of the desktop view, or vice versa, then I can just remove that altogether. And so let's say this free headphones never purchase. It's not something I actually want to show on the mobile view. Maybe this is a desktop exclusive offer. We don't want anyone in mobile to be able to see this. Just as he was describing, we can just go into the styles of that whole section, and we can actually disable that from the mobile views altogether. So nothing's changed here. It's all the same. But if I go over to the mobile view now, it's not there. It's gone. Cool. Maybe I want to have a different offer for mobile and tablet. So what I could do here is maybe just use the same sort of section because I liked how that looked. I could duplicate that. Now I've got 2 of them. This one's only showing in desktop and widescreen. This one is showing on all. Or actually, I guess I duplicated it, so it's only showing on all that too. But I can change that. So now I can go turn this off, turn these on, right? And then let's just make a change to it so I can sort of demonstrate. So let's say free headphones with every purchase. Maybe I want to make a different deal. Maybe it's going to be free headphones with every second purchase. So I can set that up here. And then that's not showing in mobile and tablet, but in desktop, it still says free headphones with every purchase. So we're doing here is we're creating 2 different elements, one for each device type. And the challenge here is that this is still in the code on the page, right? So it's not going to show if someone goes onto the desktop view, they're not going to see that, but it is still coded in. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting to set up like a completely unique viewing experience for each different device type, we'd recommend using those other tools for controls and dimensions and that sort of thing, sort of customize things first. Always try to do that first before you ever like recreate an element in a different device type. But it is an option, and it's great for something like this where you wanted to change, every second purchase versus every purchase, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, Alex, is there anything else there that you think I'm missing in terms of something I should explain?
No, absolutely. That looks.
I think I actually got myself my headset muted. Let me just turn that back on.
Yeah. So I think that looks great. But one thing I actually realized,
It likes to idle when I can't hear anything for a while, so it's confused as to why nothing's happening. Hey, Alex, I think I can hear you again.
That's okay. Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah,
that looks great. And I have a couple of things that I think I missed. So if you could follow along with what I'm about to
sure. Yeah,
throw some shout outs to about here. Different elements, they come with different kinds of controls, and some of them have that built-in responsiveness. For example, I believe you showed it, but like the stacking behavior on columns, right? You can toggle between stacking on smaller screens or not. That's one of them. Another one is definitely the way you showed those images. So you can choose if you want to contain an image, if you want it to be custom dimensions, or if you wanted it to cover the entire element area. That has a huge impact on how your content looks across different device sizes. If you go back into the dashboard, so these are all the different ways that we have
back to the dashboard.
Yeah, the dashboard, please, to help you build wonderful pages. Or if you want, I can go into my dashboard in my test environment.
Okay, no, that's okay. I can go there.
Cool, right on. And just jump into that analytics, please.
Gotcha. Yeah, the analytics, of course. Cool.
Yes. we have all these cool tools to help you build your pages to look great on different devices. Fantastic. And now we have tools to help you measure those changes as well, right? And so when you go into the analytics suite, as you saw, Kaylin, he clicked on the little chart next to each of the pages. Then you're able to see, based on all device types and based on a breakdown of these different device types, how your pages are performing on all these awesome metrics that we have in the analytics section. So you're actually able to get an insight if your page is performing better on mobile, tablet, laptop, widescreen, and then you're able to make your changes that are data-driven, more informed, right? And if you need more data-driven information, we also offer A/B testing that gives you a very similar and in-depth breakdown as well, so that you're actually able to make an A/B test of your mobile page, of your desktop page, of your tablet page, and then you get a breakdown of how all that looks. So that's what I'd forgotten, which but you know, at the end of the day, it just matters that we looked at it, because you need to be able to measure and optimize your pages for performance.
Yeah, and that's another thing to sort of touch on. Obviously, in these analytics, we're finding that more and more people are shopping from their tablet and mobiles. Of course, this is just like a test environment, so we're not actually seeing those percentages live, but it's likely you'll probably see your percentages go skyrocket, with the mobile and tablet views. So always a good idea to, like, when you're building your site, always keep mobile in mind when you're building that. Really you're designing for mobile and desktop secondary in most cases, right? So that's why we have these tools, and you can switch between them and set those things up.
Awesome. So I think that covers our entire deck of stuff to go over right now.
Yeah, we can totally go into some of that stuff with questions too. If people have questions, we can probably showcase some stuff. So do we just want to open the floor?
Yeah, let's start answering some questions. And the first one that I see here, it says, with adding, this is from Sarah. So thank you, Sarah, for this. With adding a custom CSS class, would I just add the class name in that input box and then need to add the actual styling within an HTML block? Or how would I add the actual styling? Sarah, that's a fantastic question. Thanks for asking it. And you're right. You would use an HTML element and you'd be able to add that styling. Another way you'd be able to call that styling is if it existed in a custom element that was pre-built. And also, if you're using a theme with a header and footer, if you're using the header and footer, if that styling exists in the header and footer, you'd be able to call that class as well.
Yeah, you can actually create that CSS style like within your theme. If it's in your theme's assets, then you can link to it, right? Just be careful. It's actually not necessary to have like those dots or hashtags for those elements. Right. You just put the name right in, and that will apply that styling to the CSS class to that element.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a fantastic question. The next one here is from Kenjiro, and I'll pass this one to you, Kaylin. So does the parallax effect only work on desktop view? Fantastic question.
No, I don't think so. I think you can use the parallax effect in both. Let's just test it out real quick. Let's see here. So section parallax effect. There it is. Is that right? Let's see.
It's tough because it's right at the bottom. It works on all of them. Yeah, it should work on all views.
No, I don't. I'm not seeing that. It's a good question. I've actually never tested that before, but I'm only seeing it in mobile.
Are you able to move that section up higher so that we can see it scroll?
Yeah, maybe look at that shot. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's being affected.
Well then.
Yeah, we have to get back to you on that. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm sure one of our team members will have an answer on that one.
Proof is in that pudding right there. So.
But it looks like you're right.
It doesn't look like it. Great question, Kenjiro. Thank you.
Yeah, we can definitely follow up if there's a reason for that, and I'm sure someone on our team is more familiar with why that's the case. But yeah, personally, I wasn't aware of that. So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, next question. Is that a PNG with recharge as an overlay?
This image?
Thank you, Yvette. Great question. Yeah. So is that image, do you have an image on top of an image, or how did you build what we're looking at here?
Sure, yeah. So just like in the header here. So yeah, I've built there's a few layers of elements, right? So you can always look at these breadcrumbs. And we see that I have like section here for how I have this image. So it's in a section. And you can see that. Here it is right here. I just have it set up custom. I have a custom width and height. Inside a column, inside a section, inside another section, right? So this section is the one that's got that background image.
Of the cell phone.
The person with the cell phone, right? So then I've just gone ahead and added like a column on top of this. So you can just throw a column like on top of this section. And that's sort of what's happened here, right? There's this column where I've decided to set it this way. And there's lots of ways to do this where you could use margins to do this. But I decided to use a column to sort of nest it over here so it wasn't on top of this phone. You can see I've done the same thing here with the text. So yeah, you can add elements into other elements, right? And that's why we have these breadcrumbs here at the bottom of the page, sort of showcasing how that's done. Hopefully
that's incredible flexibility. Incredible flexibility so that you can just add image.
Yeah, cool. and I'm not sure if you're asking about the file type, but yeah, I mean, we support most image types. PNG usually not the recommended just because it is like the highest file size. Usually best to use like a JPEG, but yeah, this might be a PNG that I have for the logo.
Thank you, Yvette. That was a great question as well. Cool. So now we got one from Amanda. Question about using hamburger menu versus other types of menus on mobile. I'm more concerned about how people use mobile and what makes a good user experience. And you know what? That's a really great question, Amanda. One that we might have to refer you to like a UX designer for. And I would actually even suggest getting the data from your target market, like your actual market, because your users might be different than other people's users for your industry, for your business. And so it's something that is difficult to answer broadly, I'd say. Galen, do you have anything?
Sure, and I mean that's something that you could test. Either like you could even use our form element to get people's feedback on whether they like one view or not. You can always go back to our forums webinar to kind of see how you could use that to maybe get some feedback on your site. You could hypothetically A/B test that as well. Of course, most menus you're probably going to be using your e-commerce for that header and footer. So yeah, in that case, it wouldn't be something you could A/B test directly into Shogun. But if you had, say, like a custom element or a custom menu that you wanted to add into Shogun, that's something you could A/B test. So yeah, that's something that might work to find out, hey, is my hamburger menu something that people are liking more? Am I losing people off the page when I use a different menu instead? That's definitely something you could do with custom elements and A/B testing within Shogun.
Yeah, for sure. You could build your own menu. That's right. Good point, Galen. So now we've got one, and thank you, Amanda, for that fantastic question as well. Joseph, okay, let's take a look here at what Joseph asks. I find that our Shogun pages do load a bit on the slower end, especially our mobile pages. Do you have any tips to speed up the load? Thank you, Joseph. That's a fantastic point to bring up. It's, I think, something that we would kind of like need to look at your page in particular. Like, certainly there are best practices that we could recommend, but I don't want to just generalize for your particular situation. So please feel free to reach out to myself, alex@getshogun.com, or you could reach out to our support team, support@getshogun.com. And we'd be happy to look over your page and see if we can identify anything to help you out with. Kaylin, do you have any best practices that you usually recommend?
Yeah, I was going to say, touching on sort of what we were talking about before too, like, and again, like Alex is saying, very different depending on the site, right? I mean, this page, for example, probably would load very fast. There's not a whole lot of elements on the page, so we probably wouldn't have a trouble here. But one of those things I was talking about is if you had like a ton of separate elements, unique elements on mobile and on desktop, where you're like hiding one, hiding the other, that's something that we see that's quite common from users because they really like that tooling. But something you don't want to go overboard with. So again, what I was sort of describing with that, at the bottom of the page, that offer that I had before, right? This right here, how it's showing on desktop, free hover phones that were purchased, and on mobile, it's a different one when I had that set up before. That is something you don't want to do a whole bunch of, because if you have like 50 unique elements on mobile and 50 unique elements on desktop, then you have 100 elements on the page. So you could slow down your page with that sort of a thing. So that's like one of the best practices that you probably want to use. Again, same with like your images. Like I was saying, having huge file sizes for your images might slow down the page a little bit. That being said, we do use our lazy loading. So in Shogun, your images won't load if they're off the page. As you scroll down, they will load into view, right? So that's one of the things we do to combat that sort of slowness of pages that you see on a lot of websites where everything's trying to load at once. We don't want to do that. We'll sort of load things slowly, or we'll load things as they become into view.
Thank you, Kaylin. And also, I just want to point out, like, thank you to anybody that was able to stick around with us for the half hour here. So it's been 30 minutes now. So thank you to anybody that has to leave, and we'll continue onward with our extended Q&A because I still see more questions here. Make sure to follow here in this webinar software here. Make sure to click follow so that you're up to date with any future webinars that we have. So the next one from Anna. Thank you, Anna, for writing in. When can we get more animations to get more interactions with the user? So when we can get more animations to get more interactions with the user. I think you're asking about when can you expect to get more animations, transitions, cool effects like that. Let me know if I'm wrong. Feel free to type in the box just in the general chat if I'm wrong in interpreting that. That's a fantastic feature request. We're going to take that down. I don't think we have an ETA on adding more or any specific animations or transitions or anything like that. I'm not aware of any, but if you're saying that you want them, and we're hearing more and more people say that they want that kind of stuff, we'll pass these along to our product team. Absolutely. Thank you, Anna, for clarifying. Perfect.
Yeah, I've heard the request a couple of times before. Like some of the animations people are requesting is like, fading in and fading out and that sort of stuff. Keep in mind, you can do that, setting up through custom coding through Shogun. So it's definitely possible. But in terms of the actual feature, no, we don't have that yet. Well, yeah, as Alex said, we'll definitely take that down and make a feature request. If there's one in specific, please let us know, because maybe I'm not touching on it with like a fade in, fade out, or something like that. But yeah, we'd be happy to pass that along.
Thank you again, Anna. So now we have a question from Brian. Is there a way to create an on-click pop-up on Shogun? Example, newsletter signups. Ooh, to create a pop-up. So when somebody clicks it, it pops it up, eh? Brian, that's a really cool idea and a fantastic question as well. And I believe the way to build, so there is a way to add a newsletter sign up using our forms, but to be able to make it pop up, that would require custom coding and custom elements.
Yeah, it's another request we could put through to our team. Maybe having like a pop-up element. We'd be happy to throw that through the team.
Alternatively, if you're using some sort of software for a pop-up, then you're able to embed that. Typically, they'll have like an embed code, and typically you'll be able to add that embed code on any kind of like theme index file or something like that. But you could also use that embed code on your Shogun page and see how that ends up populating on the live site. So it might not render it and show it in the builder, like when you're actually editing the page, but on the live site, it's worth testing out and seeing how it looks.
Yeah. Generally, like Klaviyo, Mailchimp, those ones, they all have like those embed codes that you can use. That you can just throw into an HTML element on Shogun for the most part. So yeah, I mean, if that's like the kind of thing you're looking for, then I'm sure that you can find that there. But otherwise, yeah, at the current time, you'd need to custom code sort of a pop-out element where you could add like Shogun elements into it, which would be kind of cool, right? So yeah, we'll pass it along to the development team as well.
Thank you for that question. So now we have a question from Bram about mobile page speed. Is there a way on how to lazy load pictures? Great question, Bram. We do lazy load the images, right, Kaylin?
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. So we already build that in. So you don't need to worry about that. That's pre-built into Shogun Page Builder.
Yeah, and again, just to touch on that real quick, I know I just kind of went over it, but so as I scroll down the page here, if I was on the live page, images will not preload. They will load as I scroll. And that's just to sort of take some of the load off of the page, right? So that it's able to load very quickly so you can see what you're looking at right away, and then load as you move down, so that things are loading at different times and not trying to all load at once. So that's what he's referring to as lazy loading images. And yes, we do that on our pages already.
Lazy loading, it's hard working. Terrible joke. Okay. Thank you, Bram, for your question. And now we have a great question from Chimi. So why are we not allowed to preview the page before publishing it? For example, what Chimi's experiencing here is the visibility icon on the left. She needs to see the preview in the browser itself rather than inside the page builder. And Chimi, I agree with you. And we do have a preview page option. Do you know, Kaylin, why that might not populate for Chimi? Why it might just say view live page?
You bet. Yeah, nice setup. Nice little alley-oop there. Yeah, so you'll see on my page as well that says that the preview page is not available. This is generally most common to happen when you have a password page on your store, like when you don't have it live. So I'm not able to view it because the store is hidden behind that password. So that's generally the case. Again, if you're having this issue and that's not what's happening, contact our support. We can take a look at that and figure out if something's gone wrong there. But that's why I can't preview mine.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you, Chimi, for that question. I also experience that in my test stores all the time. And I'm like, wait, oh, yeah, okay. My password. Oh, cool here from Patrick, also from Australia. Can you get a recording? Yes, we will the recordings are available. And if you stick around after, when this entire webinar is done, you're able to see a replay of everything. And then we've got Dominique here. So thank you, by the way, Patrick, for repping the other time zones. Dominique, are you thinking of adding other language integrations? Ooh, that's cool. I know Shogun works with Weglot, but will Langify integrate one day? That's a really great question, Dominique. Thank you for asking it. And it's, again, I have to say, like, when we hear requests like that from people like you, people using our software, that's when we know that's what you want, and we pass that kind of thing along to our product team. So currently, I don't have an ETA on any of that. Kaylin, do you have anything else?
No, yeah, right now it's Weglot only, but we hear you, and it is a request we've had a few times for sure. So we have passed it along, and we continue to pass it along, and we look at these things on a priority basis too, right? The more requests we get for a specific feature, we take a look at that seriously and think, okay, this is something a lot of people want. Let's get that something that we can look at first, and then for the ones that maybe don't have as many requests, we look at secondary, right? So we're definitely looking at it. We want to get that done. We just want to make sure to get new features for as many people as possible, right? The people who want them most. So yeah, just keep asking for it, and we'll keep throwing it up there, and hopefully we can get that added to the platform.
It'd be cool to have a vote page. That'd be kind of neat. Okay, so thank you, by the way. That was a super question. So now we have a question from Jacob. Are snippets limited to the page that they're created on, or can they be used in multiple pages? Fantastic question, Jacob. Kaylin?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, for snippets, like I can just do a quick example here. Let's just say like this free headphones never purchased is something I wanted to make a snippet of, right? I can create a snippet for that, and I could call it, free offer. And so then I have this snippet here and saved, right? So that's what they're referring to. These are available on all of your pages. So this is kind of the great thing about snippets is if you have an element that you want to put somewhere else on your site, you can do that. So I can just throw this in anywhere, and it's going to have all of those elements in it. That's another thing, like what we're talking about before with those breadcrumbs. You can save like an entire page even, right? So like if this whole page is a section, I could actually save this whole page as a snippet and use that. Maybe I want to do that for some reason other than a template, because you can use templates to do this as well. But I could do like full homepage snippet, and maybe that's something I would want to use somewhere else, right? So yeah, snippets can be used all across your site.
And what's really cool too, by the way, is that when you create a snippet, you're able to assign, once you drag and drop that snippet anywhere else, you're able to assign it. If you've already saved any global style, you can assign it that global style, right? You can assign all the different elements that global style, and that way you can make edits down the road to snippets that you've put across multiple pages. You can make like a global change just by updating that style. So that's a pretty neat way of doing it. And if you're ever using multiple stores, so you have multiple websites and multiple instances of Shogun across different stores, if you have page syncing, page synchronization, which is included in our measure plan, then you're able to actually synchronize snippets as well. So that's not only is it available on other pages within your Shogun store, but you can make it available on other stores as well. Thank you for that question. Okay, where am I? Did I am I scrolled way away from? Okay, here we got a question from Santi. Why is the background section with the phone inside another section? That's a great question, Santi. What was your design method when you chose to do that?
Yeah, great question. So like something that I do for myself for best practice is I will always just have like a whole section for my page. This is not by any means necessary. I just like it in case I do need to like move that, if I want to copy that as a snippet, for example, like we were just suggesting. So I have this section as my whole homepage. What I can actually do here to make this a little bit easier to understand is I can go to my layout here. So layout is actually how you can find these breadcrumbs as well, all your different elements. So this section, as you can see, it's containing everything. I can just click this little arrow. I know that this contains everything on my page. I can just edit the name of that. I could call it, full page. Cool, it's full page now. So now if I click on this, now I know, okay, this section is in my full page section. Makes it a little bit easier on the eyes. Great question.
And we have a nice undo button as well in case you ever accidentally delete that section containing everything. If you rage delete something. Thank you for the question, Santi. Is it possible to overlap elements like text that bleeds over an image?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, you can add a text over top of an image or a section with an image, right? So that's like sort of what I've done here with like this heading. If you're asking if like an image can be like in line with text, then yes, that can be done as well, for sure. Like if you have a text element, you can sort of have that image be in line with the text, so it's right next to it. Yeah, I'm not too sure if that's led to your question, but yeah, we actually have a great help article on that in our help center. Just if you look up inline image, you can find that, and it'll have all the instructions on how to set that up.
Cool. Yeah, good question. And yeah, you could use margins also, right? Using the margins and setting a negative. I saw Santi had made a comment in there. Good design tip. So you can use margins and then just pay attention to how it looks on different devices as well.
Sure. Yeah. Like I can just do a quick example. Like if I put this text up here, and I really wanted to bleed over this image without putting it into that section. Like an example of how you could do that would just be to take this heading element and we could add like a negative margin, right? So like -500. What am I doing wrong here? Well, here, let's just use another example. I can just quickly throw like a section down and do this.
While you do that, I'm going to move to Yvette's next question. So thank you, by the way, whoever asked that past one. I didn't see a name assigned to it. But Yvette asks, I wanted to know what that image is that appears to be a PNG without a background. So she wanted to know what that image is. It appears to be a PNG without a background. Okay, so I will fill that back to Kaylin afterwards. So thank you again, Yvette. Sorry that I didn't answer the original question. Oh, and then somebody did write, "Hi, Yvette, you're correct. That image is a PNG with a transparent background."
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. Great
Yeah.
question. Yeah, we totally missed that. Yeah, so of course the PNG, the transparent background, you got it. Yeah, we totally overlooked that. But yeah, with the PNG, you can have that transparent background, so it's like over this section. Exactly.
And you could create some really cool parallax effects doing that, because you could have you could have 3 sections with 3 different layers of images basically, and throw them all into parallax and see how that looks. That could be pretty neat. Play around with it, have fun. Like I always say, it's all written in liquid, not in stone. Okay, so why are buttons or close pop-ups not responsive on mobile? Works fine on desktop. Why are buttons or close pop-ups not responsive on mobile? Works fine on desktop.
I'm not sure if it's like a unique or a specific situation. That's something you probably would want to contact support about if there's something that's going wrong on your site. What was the why are buttons or close pop-ups not responsive on mobile? Yeah, it sounds like a button you have or something like that is not kind of like lining up the way you like it to. Yeah, I would just suggest contact your support team if you wanted us to take a closer look at that.
If for some reason if that refers to like the text, or you're meaning that the box itself, the button gets bigger and smaller, something to keep in mind is that you wouldn't necessarily want a button from a design. I mean, if it is what you want, there are ways to do it using that CSS, but generally, like an 80-20 rule is that you wouldn't want your text blown up giant if somebody has a giant screen, because if they have a very big screen, they're still needing to read the font at a 12 to 20 or whatever it might be. Like, it doesn't need to be billboard sized font, just because they're using a very big screen. And same thing with the text on a smaller screen. We don't want like text or buttons to become too small to read when using a smaller device. So if that was related to it, good. If not, I mean, I just threw it out there. Thank you for asking it. And we'll take like 3 more minutes of questions. Kaylin, what do you think?
Sure, yeah, sounds good to me.
And so here we got a question from Ben, and it says, is it possible to create a light box pop-up? And that's a really great question, Ben. I know that when you're using the image elements, one of the controls that you're able to select for the image is to select, like, how do you want that image to respond when it's clicked on? Do you want it to open a light box? Do you want it to do nothing? Do you want it to link somewhere? And so you do have the option to create a light box for an image when it's clicked. Otherwise, you are certainly able to use a custom element or to use a HTML element to build anything that you'd like. But sure, with our image elements, you can have lightbox pop up. Great question. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and again, for any of these questions, like for Lightbox, for here, you can see if you have questions about how to use that, we have a great help center, has tons of information on all this sort of stuff. So yeah, look into our help center. You can search Lightbox and you'll find some information on our image element there.
And then I think this will be the last question from Ian. For some reason on the slider feature, the right arrow and the left arrow does not work in terms of changing slides. Ooh, that's a unique one, Ian. So we'd have to, I really encourage you to reach out to our support team, or again, feel free to email me and I'm happy to look at it with you as well. Alex@getshogun.com or support@getshogun.com. And we'll take a look into your unique situation there, because it should work. So if you're in the builder, it should work to change the slide, and even if you're like on the site itself, it should work to change the slide.
Yeah, and you can see that here. Like, I've got a slider set up right here. It's going between them on both the live page and in the editor. Yeah, it just sounds like there might be some kind of conflict or something in your theme. Yeah, definitely reach out to us. And
are you able to turn auto slide on and see if that changes it if you publish? So if it's auto slide on, are people still able to left click, right click?
Not 100% sure. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to publish this. My site's password protected right now.
Oh,
but,
okay. Yeah. Maybe perhaps that could be it. So double check that your auto slide isn't on. If it is, maybe they conflict. Cool. Thank you for joining us and for staying late, everybody that has. And
Yeah, and I think we'll just close by saying as well, because I see a question I don't necessarily need to answer, but we have lots of these webinars. So now we're on our third one. So there's the first couple that you can go and check out. So if you wanted to learn more about global styles and our new forms feature, that's in our first one. You can learn about our new templates in our second one. And we're going to be doing more of these in the future. So if you have any suggestions on what you want to see for using Shogun, please let us know, and we'll try to make a new webinar about that in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we have the help docs. We have our support line. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, everyone.